What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing you another video. Today I wanted to do another episode review of Power Rangers Dino Charge. I actually already filmed this, but the thing was is that when I originally filmed it, there was a lot of background noise coming out, and I know that most of you guys probably don't like that. So I realized right away that, I have the time. Might as well go back, and that's part of the reason why this is coming out a little bit later than I wanted it to, because I'm actually home this time when I do it, and I actually am able to release it the day of, rather than having to release it a day after or 2 days after. Sadly in the past, it's because I've been going away to different places every weekend now, and so I haven't had much time to do any of these reviews the day of. Anyway, let's jump into the episode, because I'd like to get this out fairly fast, just because I know that you guys are interested in it. So the episode starts off with our Rangers in the cafe in the museum that they occasionally work in, and we see Shelby complaining about her job and not having many breaks or whatever, and then suddenly Chase rides in on a skateboard and goes over to the Rangers and talks to them and shows them a picture on a newspaper that has an image of one of Sledge's ships. So at that point, the Rangers are curious where it's from, who's the photographer and all that, and they find out that it was taken in New Zealand, and the photographer was Albert Smith, who is an interesting person that you will hear about very soon. So Rangers, knowing this, they obviously want to know why is Sledge in New Zealand when obviously the Rangers are where they are. So the Rangers decide at that point they have to go on a plane to go and see what's going on in New Zealand and what's causing them to be there and what's he doing there. So the Rangers go there and they go on a plane. In the meantime, though, we get to see up in space our villain, our monster for the episode, known as Meteor. Yes, like an actual meteor. So Meteor is our monster. And anyway, he gets shot down down to Earth and through a pod. And in the meantime, the Rangers travel by plane to New Zealand. Once there, obviously Chase is from New Zealand, so he kind of helps them a little bit. But they at first go to Auckland before they go to the main areas of New Zealand, and then finally find Albert. In order to do so, they had to go on a boat. So while they're on the boat, they're like talking about different things, and they're seeing the water, how fresh it is and clean. And then at one point, they end up seeing a dolphin, which Ivan has never seen a dolphin, because where he lived, I guess there must not have been dolphins. So it was kind of interesting. And Koda is practically he takes off his shirt and is he's ready to jump into the water and swim with the dolphin, and the other Rangers stop him. So once they reach the area where Albert lives, they end up looking for him, and he lives in this campsite area. So they're kind of curious as to where he is. So they start snooping around, and at one point they see this beehive that's hanging up from a tree area, and they're like, why would they leave such a beehive there? And the thing is that it make a bee sound even though there actually isn't any bees right there. So it's kind of confusing. I guess it's mainly meant for the audience's knowledge rather than for being realistic, because obviously there wasn't any bees in there, because it was all intended for the purposes of there was a stick on the ground, Shelby picks it up, pokes the beehive, and then suddenly a trap is sprung and the Rangers are caught in it. At that point, we get to see Albert for the first time, and he realizes, and we get to see that he's also a Bigfoot hunter. And the thing is that he was hoping to actually catch a Bigfoot, but he caught them. So the Rangers end up talking to Albert, and Albert talks to them about all of his big adventures, catching things in the oceans, seeing mythical beings, getting horns of unicorns, and octopus tentacles, and all these other things. And he's trying to make him so bad as this really cool guy, and he has this eye patch. So he's an interesting person. Following this, the Rangers end up asking him about the pictures. Also, if he has more than one picture, and he has 5 pictures. They took in 5 different locations of those ships, and he's been seeing them for a little while. And he mentions the locations and gives that information. And the Rangers are kind of all weirded out by him, except for Tyler, who Tyler actually seems kind of curious and interested in him, and he actually has experience with Bigfoot hunting. He never caught one, apparently, but his father and him used to go Bigfoot hunting occasionally. And this obviously brought up a conversation between Albert and Tyler, and they were kind of very friendly to each other. So following this, the Rangers go off to the main area of New Zealand just to go and look for these locations. And when they're about to look, eventually there's this bike thief that comes by and steals this girl's bike. And she's not like a little girl, but she's not someone who's like a full. She might have been like a young adult or even younger than that. Anyway, following this, the Rangers end up obviously running after the bike thief, trying to stop him in his tracks. And in the meantime, he's getting away, and eventually he's stopped, but he's not stopped by our Rangers. He's stopped by another Ranger, the Purple Ranger appears suddenly, and he stops him in his tracks. So obviously the Rangers, when they see him, are like amazed, and when the Purple Ranger notices them, he's a little bit freaked out and a little surprised that he saw some people, because usually he gets away with not being caught by anyone but criminals. So at that point, the Rangers realize the reason why Sledge is in New Zealand is because he's after the purple energem, which the Purple Ranger has. So at that point, they obviously want to get more information from him, and so they begin to run after the Purple Ranger. In the meantime, the Purple Ranger gets to run away, but then suddenly we get to see our monster for the episode, Meteor, appear. So Meteor shows up, and the Purple Ranger's kind of freaked out because he had never really fought any monsters, apparently. And so the thing is that he didn't really know anything about this. He didn't really expect to see any monsters. That was the idea. Sorry, he didn't expect to see any monsters. So then, following this, the other Rangers jump in and begin to battle Meteor and the Vivixes, and eventually Meteor goes into a pod and travels away. At that point, the Rangers demorph and go over to find the Purple Ranger, who is behind a bench, and they begin to talk to him. And suddenly, the Purple Ranger realizes who they are, and he's like, "Oh, I recognize you." He suddenly demorphs, and it reveals that the Purple Ranger was Albert to begin with. So obviously the Rangers are curious and very excited to see that Albert was the Purple Ranger, and that it's a familiar face, not some random stranger. So the thing is that at that point, the Rangers go training with him, trying to put him into good shape for fighting and all that. And we see that Albert actually is pretty fit, oddly enough. Even though he's a pretty old-looking man, he's pretty darn fit, and he's ready to do stuff, and he's actually in better shape than they are in some ways. So it's kind of interesting. So anyway, then eventually at the campsite, they end up talking to Albert and asking him how he got his powers. So Albert explains that when one day when he was on a mountain with some friends or whatever, one of the people's daughters, a girl, I'm not sure if it was a daughter or just a girl in general, was stuck on a mountain, and it was a cold, icy mountain. And the thing was that Albert had a ton of experience with this mountain, so he knew it pretty well. So he was the best fit to go and rescue the girl. So he tried to climb up the mountain and go rescue this girl who was probably like maybe 8 or 9, maybe a little bit older than that. And the thing is that when he's going up there, he suddenly sees the sparkle of the purple energem, and he reaches out and grabs it, and it bonds to him. That point, he saves the girl, and that ends that whole entire flashback moment. So following this, there's a distress call, obviously, for a monster attack, which I forgot to mention this. There was, prior to this, a whole entire scene up in space with Sledge and Wrench and some other stuff happening, where Wrench ends up using a reanimation machine to bring back some monsters that had been destroyed in the past. Which ones? Ice Age and Stingrage. If you're curious who they are, Ice Age was in the first episode of Dino Charge, and Stingrage was in like the 5th or 6th episode, maybe a little bit more than that. He was if you're curious about who Stingrage was the monster that poisoned the Ankylosaur and resulted in them having to turn it from evil to good when that happened. Yeah. So that happens, and then following this, we end up seeing, The Rangers eventually appear where the distress call was, and they end up seeing all three. They end up seeing all three monsters, including Meteor, by the way, all there, and all 7 Rangers morph together, and it's like the first time that they all morph, and it's pretty interesting. And probably the last, and no, it's gonna be interesting. So anyway, following this, the Rangers all do that, and 5 of the Rangers go in to go instantly fight the monsters and the Vivixes. The thing is that Tyler wants to make sure that Albert's ready to go in, and Albert is very hesitant, and Albert feels uncomfortable, and he's never really fought any monsters, so he's very unfamiliar with this whole entire aspect of fighting monsters, because usually he just does smaller things, like he deals with petty thefts and bike crimes and stuff like that. He didn't have to deal with any monsters. He only had to deal with like your average Joe people that were like just bad. So obviously that was something. And the thing is that at that point Tyler knows that he has to protect the Purple Ranger, Albert, and so he does so when he fights to protect him. Then following this, the other Rangers keep on fighting the monsters, and at one point, when Tyler's protecting Albert hides into a corner, and then Tyler sees that he's ran away, and also Albert demorphs. And the thing is that at that point, after Tyler has fought a bunch of monsters, goes over to Albert and tries to learn more about what's going on with him. And he explains that I'm a fake. I've never done any of those things I said. I never dealt with any mythical creatures or sea dwellers. I never had any of that experience. That's all fake. I'm completely fake. This eye patch, that's fake. All that is fake. And then the thing was is that Tyler's like, but didn't you save that girl? And he's like, I did save that girl. I actually did. That is not a lie. And at that point he begins to realize that maybe I was chosen well. And at that point he begins to contemplate things. In the meantime, Tyler has to fight off some monsters a little bit while that's happening, and then at one point or another, the Rangers then do a special attack, which is very much so a reference to Super Sentai, in particular the first Sentai series, but it also has other series that have done this before. And it's this whole entire aspect of having a ball, throwing it around between the Rangers, and then the Red Ranger typically kicking the ball off or punching the ball off or something like that. They've done it with a football, they've done it with another type of ball in the past. Sometimes it's a punch, sometimes it's a kick, depends. Himitsu Sentai Go Ranger, which was the first season, was known for that, because that was their finisher, typically. In this case, it made sense because, the monster was known as Meteor, and they could have like a small meteor ball, and they could use that as the one to punch it off, which they actually use a mass, which Tyler does like a really strong punch to punch it at the enemies. At that point, the ball destroys the smaller version of Meteor. At that point, Meteor gets big, and the other 2 monsters, we don't really know what happened at that point. So four of the Rangers then get into the Dinosaur's Megazord, and they actually use the Ankylosaur to begin with, which is kind of interesting because we haven't seen the Ankylosaur in quite some time. And that makes sense also with Stingrage being in the episode. But the thing is that following this, Tyler wants to go and protect Albert and bring him to safety because, he's not going to fight, so he might as well just bring him to a safe area. But then suddenly Ice Age and Stingrage appear, and Ice Age shoots a beam of ice to freeze over Tyler's leg. Tyler, obviously, with a frozen leg, Albert has to do something. So Albert has to carry him away. Albert, knowing that he has traps set, he goes to the forest. At that point, thinking that no one was around, he didn't realize that suddenly Stingrage and Ice Age appear right nearby and try to blast them. At that point, Albert chooses to morph, which is surprising, of course, because Albert was all against fighting the monsters. But he decides to in this case, and he decides to not come back further and further. And at one point, a trap is triggered, and they are shot up into a tree, the 2 of them, and at that point, Tyler's very happy with Albert, and Albert explains that he realizes that he was very thankful to Tyler for helping him have this rank to Morph, and but at the same time he realizes that he can't continue to be a ranger. So it's obviously kind of a sad moment for Tyler, but also a nice moment. In the meantime, the other Rangers were fighting, Meteor, and the thing is that they actually used a combination which we hadn't seen yet, which is the Ankylo and the Pocky Zord, which, is the Graphite Ranger Zord. And we actually get to see that combination, which is the Pocky Ankylo formation, which is a really, really cool formation. They have an awesome ball and chain, as well as, the whole entire... Ankylo was the hammer, right? Combination. So it's a very cool moment. They get to destroy Meteor, and then following this, there's the whole entire losing your powers moment. Which, how they do that is all 7 Rangers appear together near Keeper near the campsite, and what happens is that Albert is instructed to hold the purple Energem up to Keeper's staff and put it near the tip of the staff, so that then the bond will be removed from the Energem, and that way then he can give it, and then the bond will have been lost. So at that point he does so, and they say their goodbyes to Albert, and the episode more or less so ends. This is a really good episode. It had a lot of great moments. Obviously, we got a new combination for mechs. We got to see the male Purple Ranger. Obviously, if you're not already aware, we're supposed to be getting a female one soon. I already know who it is. For those that are not that don't know, I won't say, just because I'd rather not spoil it for anyone, even though I'm excited, and I know a lot of people are going to be looking forward to seeing how our female Purple Ranger will work out, and I just can't wait to see her in action, and that should come in the next episode or so. I know that one thing I will say is the next episode we should be finally seeing our Plesio Zord, which is the Purple Ranger Zord, so we will get that next episode. I'm pretty sure we don't. I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure we don't get to see our female Purple Ranger in next episode. But maybe. We'll see. We will see. I know the Plesio's next episode, but I don't know about about female Purple yet. I think that's the 19th episode, not the 18th. But we'll see. So that's about it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to answer the question at the bottom. And I'll see you guys next time. Also check out all the other episode reviews I've been doing. And that's about it, guys. So bye-bye.